Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square here with T-Square Talk. So I hope everybody's having a great Monday. It is Monday morning, and I got a really great video planned out for you guys today. It's about a talk, a question that I had come up with a good friend of mine and his wife. We were talking, and they were telling me some of their plans about CDs, and they want to cash out some accounts, buy some CDs. And, I had talked to him about this, and I thought it was an important question, I guess you can say. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, because when I started researching some different stuff online, I come across a couple different forums that made it sound like, oh, it's 100% safe. And the only reason people that talk about gold and silver or crypto accounts is because they have financial gain, and so they're pumping up precious metals and pumping up cryptocurrencies. And I found that to be the biggest joke, because the truth of the matter is everything comes down to one thing. If you are getting paid a guaranteed interest, that money ain't free. The smaller the interest, the lower the risk. The higher the interest, the higher the risk. With gold and silver, and I'll say Bitcoin, there is no interest. You're betting that the price will go up and that the value of it will go up. Or you can also make the same statement. You're betting that the dollar or the fiat currency that you are buying it in is going to go down in value. If the dollar goes down in value, it buys you less of anything you buy. If it goes up in value, it's going to buy you more of something. Why? It's just the way it works. Dollar goes down in value, it doesn't get you as much. That's important to know. It's important. We've talked about that time and time again, but we haven't really talked about CDs. Maybe because I don't really talk about banking stuff. I'm not a big fan of CDs. I know I come from a family that my dad had a lot of money in CDs, and he has put it into his trust that basically it stays and it grows in the trust account and it produces interest. Is there risk in that? Some people will tell you no, there's no risk in that. But we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk a little bit about gold and silver today, and how you can essentially profit from it, even though if you profit in something and that something is going down, you're basically money that you would trade it out for, it's not going to buy you as much. What I mean by that is, if a silver dime today will buy me a dozen eggs, and a silver dime goes to hypothetically $100, and a dozen eggs go to $100, did I profit? Not really. However, I didn't lose money. Not losing money is, in a way, a profit, especially when everybody around you is losing money. Because the stuff that people need, they're still going to buy. The stuff that people want, fancy cars, extra land, some fancy pew-pews, nice Colt, I don't know, whatever you like. Those are toys. Those are not stuff people need. People will start letting them go. And therefore, you will see that stuff plunge in value, because people will need the money more than they need a nice car. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you guys enjoy the video, please take a quick minute. Help me out by hitting that thumbs up button. It really helps me out more than you know. And if you're not subscribed, if you want to do the ultimate, hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you're into CDs. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. CDs can be a pretty good investment in a certain aspect. If you've got some extra cash, you know you're going to need it in 3 months, you get a CD that's offering you 3% to put it in there for 90 days, I can understand that. In 90 days, I'll give you a great example of that. If you have a large tax bill that comes due every year, and you know it's going to come due, and you've been putting the money away like a responsible person, and each month you're putting that money away, well, having it sitting in a savings account getting you nothing, not very good. Not very good. If you know you're going to need it in 3 months, yeah, why not put it in a 3-month CD? And then in 3 months, you'll get the money plus the 3% on it. Maybe if you've got 6 months, they've got 6-month CDs. However, at this particular bank that my friend is using, a 3-month CD is 3%. A 6-month CD is 5.5%. It only makes sense to do 3 months, go in on the 90-day mark, roll it over, and do another 3 months. Why? Because at the end of the 6 months, you'll have gotten 0.5% more and compounded essentially because of your interest from the first 3 months. So is it 100% safe? Okay, so a lot of articles that I've read as I was looking this up tonight, I already kind of knew, but I wanted to make 100% sure what I found online. Everybody online wants to tell you it's safe. It's pretty much 100% safe. The only way you can lose money. Now, I don't agree with this, and we're going to get into that here in just a minute. It's 100% safe, a CD. The only way you can lose money on a CD is if you take it out before the terms. You buy a 90-day CD, and in 60 days, oh my word, our hot water heater went out. We got to use that money on our hot water heater. Pull the money. Our AC went out essentially. Pull the money. Whatever broke down, you got to pull the money out. Well, yeah, you're basically lost out on your interest for the 60 days. You let them use your money for 60 days for free. My opinion on that, first of all, is if you're leaving money in a savings account, you're essentially losing money anyway because they're using your money and they're investing it and you ain't getting jack. From a checking account, a CD, am I guilty of this? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I have money in a savings account. I have money in a checking account. I don't get any money off it. It's just sitting there. However, it is sitting there for a reason because should we see a super dip in precious metals, I'm ready to buy. I'm ready to buy. Am I worried about having a little bit of money in the bank? I think about it. It's a possibility that if too many banks were to collapse all at once, the bank would not be able to get help, I don't believe. I believe FDIC insurance, which protects you for up to $250,000 per an account, there's loopholes around that. I actually know a bank manager that she had told me that one of her customers had won like $4 million. Couldn't tell me the name or anything, obviously, just the basics. And so they actually brought in professionals from the bank to sit down with him and explain to him that, well, if you open an account here under your name, you open an account under your wife's name, you open a joint account under yours and her names, you open an account under your kid's name, you open up some CDs, that's all different accounts. Therefore, each one of those accounts are protected under $250,000. The problem too with that though is if a bank goes under, so this is something we've talked about on the channel before, the Dodd-Frank Act, D-O-D-D. If I mispronounce it, that's how it's spelled. I've said it time and time again, and sometimes when I talk with my accent, that mix between New England and Texas, I say it wrong. But the D-O-D-D Act, Dodd-Frank Act, even though sometimes I say Dodge-Frank Act. I don't know why I say it like that. I just do. When I start talking too fast, I say it. But that does basically state that it's credit reform. We're not going to see another bank bail-in like we saw in 2008. Why? Because 2008, banks were too big to fail, and essentially they could not risk that happening again. Taxpayers were outraged that they had lost their... Essentially, that taxpayer dollars went to the banks to bail the banks out who made risky decisions. So they came up with this reform to protect the people, which is, to me, a total joke because it doesn't protect the people at all. I mean, in fact, neither of them, whether it was there or it wasn't there, it didn't protect the people. And the reason I don't believe it protects the people is because now the people that are banking at that bank essentially will be the ones that have to bail in. Your money automatically gets invested into the bank if this happens. Now, will FDIC protect you? So FDIC only has so much money. If too many banks go under, then obviously they don't have the money to pay it. You can't squeeze, as they say, B-L-O-O-D, out of a turnip. However, with that being said, I don't know if I can say that word, so I had to pause for a minute and just kind of spell it out. But, you can't squeeze it out of a turnip. If the bank doesn't have the money, the FDIC doesn't have the money, where's that money going to come from? Your money becomes their money. Now, some people are going to say that's BS, and you're 100% right, but you have to understand, you're giving the bank your money. You're willingly giving it to them. Our bank's in trouble right now. So banks have been making risky decisions, and I have a belief, it's a personal belief, and it's semi-backed by data, that banks have been making more and more risky loans. Banks have been making bad decisions. People are getting nervous about banks. People are starting to pull their money. People are starting to spend their money on stuff like what you see in front of you. They're starting to spend their money on cryptocurrencies, and they are starting to ditch their money. So obviously banks have a problem. Money is getting drained out of them. Well, they have a lot of their money tied up. They don't just take your money and sit on it. Why? Because that wouldn't do them any good. If they just take your money and sit on it, put it in their vault, and just hold on to it, it's fractional banking. They take your money, and basically they are able to borrow even more money against that money. And they're able to keep loaning out money and make interest off that money that they don't even really have. That they can just borrow money cheap and then turn around and loan it. Now, here's the thing. If everybody paid off their bills overnight, the system would not sustain itself. There is a lot more debt out there. There's a lot more money owed than there is money in the system. I'll give you a prime example of that. Let's say this is a T-Square Talk dollar right here, this one. I'm going to loan it to this person with an agreement that they pay me 1.1 back. Well, if this is the first one in existence, think about that. When this person goes and pays it back to me, where are they going to get it from? Where are they going to get the other 0.1? It hasn't been created. But that's okay, because I'm also going to loan this person one right here. We're going to put it here. I'm going to put it here. Now, when they pay me back, they both have to pay me back 1.1 and 1.1. I've only created two. Only one of those people is going to be able to pay me back. But that's okay, because we're going to keep loaning them out. And we're going to increase more and more loans. And as more and more loans go out, I know this is probably a bad example because of the way they're setting, they kind of blend in. But now 4 people owe me 1.1. At least one of these 4 is going to have to go bankrupt. But we're not talking just 4 people. We're talking the whole world now. There is so much money out there. It is a given that a lot of bankruptcies will come down the line eventually. Who is going to be bankrupt when everything happens? There is going to be a huge crash at some point unless they continue to grow the money supply. Now, what happens if they keep growing the money supply? Inflation. Prices of everything go up, including gold and silver, which you see in front of you, specifically in silver, because I don't think I have any gold on the desk right now, which I don't. However, do I have a gold? No, I don't. It's not sitting there anymore. I think I got rid of it. Talking to myself a little bit. Sorry. There is no gold in front of you. But as silver continues to go up, you essentially make a profit. But unfortunately, while silver is going up, every other item in the world is going up because they are increasing the money supply. More money chasing a finite amount of goods and services essentially means the price of those have to go up. Now, I say goods and services. However, I will put emphasis on goods. Why? Because services, if people get really strung and they're strapped for cash, they may tend to go out and do a little extra work, a side gig, a side job. Maybe you have one job, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to start mowing this guy's lawn. It's not a lot, but it's an extra, I don't know, $50 a month or $100 a month or whatever. I don't know where you're at. So I know there's a lot of people that mow lawns here pretty cheap. So as that happens, that does produce more services. because more people will go to work. But there's only a finite amount of goods, and that's because there's a finite amount of commodities. Commodities are the building blocks of everything that we take. Therefore, naturally, you're going to see commodities go up. Well, there's a lot of different commodities out there. You can't store tons and tons and tons of wheat at your house or in a bank or anywhere really. Why? Because it goes bad. Mice will eat it. Stuff will happen to it. Generally, the average everyday person can't store oil. You can't fill your pool with oil and not think that the EPA is going to come to your house. Therefore, you can't really do that. How many different commodities can you really buy and hold in a safety deposit box, in a bank, at your house, in a storage unit, whatever the case may be? And is fairly easy to sell because it has demand. Gold and silver are the two big ones. However, I will say there are a lot more: platinum, palladium, copper, nickel, iron, tin. There's a lot of different stuff. However, now you also have to factor in the case of if you have a fair amount of money, you can't really store $20,000 in copper. You probably could, but it's going to take up a lot of space. At some point, you're going to have to start paying for storage. You're going to have to make other arrangements. When it comes to gold, $20,000 would probably be something like this. And I'm roughing it, so let's see here how close I am. 24 and 1 off. That would probably be $20,000. And technically, it wouldn't even really be that because gold's sitting at 24. Oh, no, you could get that. Yeah, you get that for $20,000 right there. And that is the reason why a lot of people stack silver and gold. Now, back to the initial question, are CDs safe? CDs are safe. You'll make a small amount of interest. But then the other problem with that is, does that 3% keep up with inflation? Now, statistically, if you believe the numbers that they're putting out, yes, it does keep up with inflation. But personally, I'd rather be invested in something that is going to show bigger gains. Silver, up 27% so far for the year. We've only 6 months in. Can you imagine if they offered you a CD at 27% for 6 months? No. They offer you a 5.5% CD for 6 months. Why? Because they know they can make a whole lot more than 5.5% off of you, the money that you're going to give them and lock in. If you pull it out before the 6 months, you're SOL. Keep in mind, you're taking your labor, your goods, your services, whatever you produce, you're converting it into cash, you're giving it to the bank, they're loaning it out, or they're spending it, or they're investing it, or whatever they do, and they're going to make a whole lot more than 5.5%. I think for the longest time, we haven't been paying jack for CDs, savings accounts. I remember when I was a kid, they actually paid us money. I had this little book. I'd go to the bank once a month. They would punch it, and I would have my interest show up right there in the little book. And I would be incentivized to put a little more money in, so next month my interest would be a little bit more. And as a young kid, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing that. That taught me something. As time went on, they incentivize you to spend your money. And now that they want to incentivize you to save your money, they think that people are dumb and essentially are going to want to put their money in CDs. And I guess to a certain point, it doesn't make you dumb. It just means you're taking a low... I probably shouldn't use the word dumb. I take that back, and I apologize if anybody out there buys CDs. I'm not a fan of CDs. I know somebody bought my son what were they called? Savings bonds. Savings bonds. And my son is now almost 20, and they were bought for him when he was born. And the individual spent a couple $1,000s on them. And when we went to cash them in, it wouldn't even be enough to buy an ounce of gold today. You could have taken the $2,000 and instead of buying CDs, savings bonds 20 years ago, You could have bought in gold at probably 400. You could have bought 5 ounces of gold roughly. And now, instead of them savings bonds, he would actually have 5 ounces of gold, which would be worth, what, 12,500 roughly. I'm rounding a little bit. Technically, I guess 12,000 even maybe. Let's see. Yeah, about 12,000 even. If he went to sell them, because you don't really get a whole lot of the premium back unless you have a good trade group. But with that being said, that is a prime example of how CDs work. Nothing is 100% safe. If you are worried, then gold and silver is safe. You hold it, you own it, there's no counterparty risk. Can it go down in value? Yes, it can, but you still hold the physical. Can it go to zero? Highly unlikely, because it never has. Someone out there is going to put a comment in that just differs with my thought process on this, my reasoning, and they're going to have different reasoning. If you disagree with what I said, please put a comment in that explains a little bit on why you disagree. But at this point, if you disagreed, you're probably not here watching anymore. But I will not say that CDs are a horrible investment. There are circumstances where they do come into play. However, in general, if you're looking for long-term growth, that ain't where I would put my money. But I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to give financial information. So this video is my opinions, and that's pretty much it. And opinions are like, everybody's got one. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you all for watching. I appreciated everybody hitting the thumbs up button on yesterday's video. I was surprised that it jumped like it did. It really helps me out. And if you're not subscribed and you're still here, please definitely hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment and say, just subbed, new sub, whatever. But thank you all for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys all next time on T-Square Talk. Take care, everybody. Have a great one. It's Monday. Bye-bye.